Hi. This feels so awkward. I don't know how I'm going to start it, but I'm definitely going to cry because that's what I do. If you missed the last video I posted last week, my grandpa died. And he was my best friend. He was a solid male presence in my life. He was my everything. It wasn't until his passing that I realized how literal the phrase weighed down by grief really is. I know eventually I will come to a point where I am grateful that we were able to hop on 2 flights and a bus and reach him when he was still talking and spend those final days with him in the hospital. That I was the one on the overnight shift in the hospital the night he died. But I also know if my grandpa saw me like this, he would say, "What the hell's the matter with you?" and tell me to get my ass up and do something. So this is my first clunky attempt at a video. I want to share some stories, if that's okay. Because my grandfather was born to the silent generation, and he is anything but silent. Grandfather is birthday twins with Princess Diana. He was born July 1st, 1930 in Roxbury, Mass. He was the youngest son to Ukrainian Jewish immigrants who fled the pogroms to come to America. My great-grandfather worked as a window washer, and one of the places he worked on was the Little Building at Emerson College. And after a fatal accident by one of his colleagues, he successfully created the first window washers union at Emerson College. Roughly 75 years later, I would live in the Little Building as a freshman at Emerson College. My grandfather was a badass, and he loved a good debate. He was the president of his HOA association at the age of 90. He was overthrown in a coup. It was over money, of course, money that they needed to spend, that nobody wanted to spend, and Norm got great satisfaction in his final days that they ended up actually having to do all the things that he suggested and was ousted for a few years back. And if you're wondering where my research habits come from, my grandparents were a part of something at a senior center called Coffee and Conversations, which eventually the leader just let Norm take over because he was dictating topics every week anyway. And among his possessions, we found articles he had printed out to bring to Coffee and Conversations to argue his position. That man knew the power of receipts. It's because this is too hilarious not to share. 90 minutes after we told my grandmother that her husband of 71 years had passed away, we were all sitting in my aunt and uncle's living room. My grandmother sniffles, looks up, looks directly at my youngest cousin and his wife, who got married a year ago, and says, "I don't think I'll ever know another day of happiness in my life until you two have a baby." Whoa! You know what? She saw her shot, and she was not giving away that shot. She said, "This man is gone, but I have priorities." That was a power move. Anyway, as you can see, I am vacillating through emotions at the moment, and I'm trying to navigate what a world looks like without my grandfather in it. So I just ask in advance for understanding, as I might be inconsistent over the next few weeks, months, whatever. But I will keep going because my grandfather really got a kick of seeing me in my element. And after I got an agent for my book proposal, he would always tell me, "Get going writing that book so I can read it before I die," which was a really unrealistic standard if we're going to be honest. But it also means I'm going to write that damn book, and I'm going to dedicate it to him. Anyway, thank you for all your kind messages. I know I haven't been replying, but I have seen all of them, and they've meant a lot.